Hi, everyone. I wanted to introduce you to Sabina Moise. Sabina and I met at a business online meeting a while ago, and we were chatting about what our various businesses are. And I really loved what she had to say, and I thought it was a perfect fit for a discussion on grief. And I've sort of diverted a little bit into the life of seniors as well. But I thought that what she had to say in the brief moments that we were able to talk fit perfectly. And so I invited Sabina to come on and chat with me and share her philosophy of fitness and her journey in fitness as well with my viewers on Let's Talk Together with Cathy on YouTube. So, and I had a look at Sabina's website and I love her introduction. It says, I battled health issues and obesity, igniting my passion for fitness. Every step was a challenge, but determination fueled my progress. That is very inspiring, Sabina, I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, can you tell us about that journey?
Yes, first of all, Kathy, thank you very much for inviting me here to speak with you and your audience. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I am very passionate about fitness. Since I was a young girl, I have been in sports and active, a tomgirl, if you will. And when I got older, it was important to try to find a way to stay active, but that was challenging as you have your family, you have your career, going to school and doing those different things. I found myself comforted with food because it's easy to reach, and a lot of the social events that I was involved in had food present. And lo and behold, I was at a health risk and a weight that not only was I uncomfortable with, but also was slowing me down and affecting my mood most of the time. And I had what I felt was a bad diagnosis from the doctor that says if you don't change now, you're going to suffer. And I was just like, oh my goodness, you start to feel overwhelmed. Like, I don't know, where do I start? Where do I begin? And can I really do this? And the light bulb went off because I was given the opportunity to find the fitness path. And when I did so, I learned as much as I could. And I found that I wanted to teach others how to do the same thing because I know the doctors do the best that they can for the better part, but sometimes it's just the go do, not how to, and just figuring that how to can be stressful as well. So I found that I wanted to bring those conversations from the doctor's office into our everyday living. And that one step helped me to find the answers and to tap back into the fitness lifestyle that I had when I was younger. And let's say younger and free. Um, but definitely, I wanted to help others, and I became a trainer. And I've worked in different areas of training as far as one-on-one training, small group training, as well as doing the resistance training and some stretching and different aspects of the healthcare industry that help anyone promote themselves and have a better outlook. So that's including discussions on nutrition. It's also important that since I knew the food was my pathway, I had to understand and help others understand no matter what type of diet and area and availability you come from, it's about making conscious choices to eat better.
Mhm.
And how do you do that with the options that you have is important that somebody guides you and has the experience to guide you.
Mhm.
So that's why I looked at the different arenas and areas where I could be proficient in the healthcare industry as well as the fitness industry.
Mhm.
So I believe in it because I've seen the magic of it, but also for your audience, I had the pleasure of working with a demographic that was retired
Mhm.
and or not as active because they're not going into work all the time, or maybe they didn't have a household full of children and other family members that they had to take care of full
Mhm.
time
Yeah.
that kept them moving.
Mhm.
Just their activities dropped back a little bit.
Mhm.
And it's been 5 years, but it feels like for some yesterday, we did have a pandemic. And wow, just wow.
Yeah.
Um, my brief story on that and signal me. But I am from New York originally. I currently reside in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. So I do get to work with clients virtually prior to the pandemic. Not as much. I do a lot of one-on-ones. But when the pandemic happened, New York was a hotspot. And that hotspot meant some
Mhm.
phone calls that we might say we dread. I was getting them constantly because born and raised, you have a lot of friends, you have family, you have history, and that was weighing down on me. Not only were we not able to connect physically with my clients, with people around me, but also it was just starting to depress me, okay? Because again, I'm balancing the love of my career and the truth of this is what's going on in the world around me and outside and to my family members. But how do I uplift myself when I don't have that contact? So then that became a mission for me, um, especially with my senior population, because we as the youth had a lot of distractions. We can jump on our phones, we can jump on this, that, and the third. My seniors didn't have that luxury. My parents did not have that luxury. It's still a challenge for some to use the technology that we have, though many of us have come a long way because we had to. And I just saw the change when there was a disconnect from the seniors who would even go to senior centers or walk to the park. Not only were you afraid of what was outside, but you now were frustrated with, okay, I have this cell phone. I use it just to call people. Now, how do you turn this camera on? How do you do the different things that we need to, because connection is so important. And I am a spiritual person, so I do thank God for the opportunity that I could walk my clients through the technology so that we can get connected. And though I could see the changes where they wanted to meet, but we laughed and we joked and we did the movements because now they were moving again. Now we were doing breathing techniques to make sure we had our blood pumping. We had life coming in through a phone call conversation. And you know, I am again very dedicated to my clients and the healthcare field. So, what do you do when you have a person who's expressing depression? Because a lot of times, what I've noticed is that we don't acknowledge it. We dismiss it as something else. And it's important to say, I think you're feeling a little down. Or are you frustrated right now? Is there something that we want to even talk about? And believe you me, talking is part of the exercising. It's taking that weight. I'm dealing in weight, I'm dealing in resistance training. So what about the weight that my clients were carrying because they didn't know how to name it, they didn't know what to call it, identify it. And that was an important part of the training as well.
So,
Just to
Sabina,
say,
I just want to stop you here. for a minute and go to your website, which is BFit Consulting LLC. And I will put it in the episode description when it's posted. But you share a lot of modalities, I guess I would say, things that you offer in terms of the kinds of trainings, in person, virtual, and skill assessment, even. I think that's really important as well. And I love that you worked with seniors because I am a senior and I live in an over 55 building. And we have folks here who, my goodness, Sabina, they walk everywhere. They walk for miles almost on a daily basis. And I am not a person who really honestly ever was very interested in physical fitness. I did a lot as a young person,
Yes.
but I was also naturally very skinny. And so I never really had an issue of weight loss, whereas, my high school friends, some of them did for sure. It wasn't really until I hit adulthood and all the issues that go along with that, enjoying fine food and all that good stuff, that it all became an issue for me. And I've been into the fitness craze from time to time, but here I am with my old habits still going. Um, because I focus on seniors, because I am a senior and I live amongst seniors, and they have a full spectrum of the highly fit people that I've been talking about, to people
Mhm.
who are really struggling with disease, with arthritis, with cancer therapy, all kinds of, across the spectrum. Um, my focus has been grief. And as you know, people in grief, especially when this major life event hits, they just want to retreat to their bed. They're not thinking about getting out, walking around the street. They're not, it's just none of that. Everything like that flies out of their attention. And all they really honestly want to do is retreat from the world. That's not everybody, but it's a very common response to grief. Eventually, when we sort of stick our head up and start looking around and realize there really is still life left out there and life left in us, it can be difficult to start again, to figure out what part of life makes sense to us at this point. And eventually we do move forward and rebuild a valuable life, possibly not, likely not what it was before the event, but certainly one that is, rewarding and valuable. So in terms of your area of expertise, I'm just wondering, for people that I've talked about, people who are grieving, especially in early grief, and they're starting to come out and recognize that there's a world outside of them, and they maybe need to start eating better and maybe need to start moving just to get their life back on track. And knowing that they can talk to somebody like yourself, they don't have to go out to the gym if they're still cutting the world off from themselves, but at least they know they need to move forward, to know that they can talk to somebody visually through Zoom. Or I think that's a real benefit, a real way to, it's another avenue, I guess, to move forward and rebuild your life. What would you say to all that?
I completely agree with you
Yeah.
with that because it's the reason that we look for. We need a reason to move from A to B, to get up in the morning. Oftentimes, that connection with me, like, is a conversation. It could be a conversation about the loved one that you lost. It could be a conversation about the life that you had before you felt this change. And in that conversation, I pick up on the notes of what what do you want to accomplish right now? What do you see? Because oftentimes it's not giving you a visual point, but let's look for something. What what conversation can you have that I can see your eyes sparkle and ask you a little bit more about that? You may have said, "Oh no, it's not important," but I see that reaction from you, and I said, "Well, let's talk about that." Because when we're going inside of our grief, we may not realize we're shutting the world out, and it just gets to a point where that heaviness comes on us. So having a person to connect to is important. It's almost like there was a game show a while back, and in that game show you had some options, and one of the options was phone a friend. Okay. And that was saying, I don't know what I'm going to reach out about, but I need to reach out. Now, the difference can be that you have a list of friends that phone you because you may not pick up the phone. So I'm that person. I'm phoning people to say, hey, what are you doing right now? And again, for those types of movements and things to uplift you, I have a person that I was working with who, unfortunately, her person had passed on, and she told me she was feeling kind of down. But before that, we were working on the flexibility of crossing her legs. And she's, oh, that's so silly. And anything. I said, oh, by the way, what about, and I reminded her to get her out of that space. Yes, let's talk about this person. I always give them time to talk about the person because oftentimes we feel like, oh, you must be so tired of me talking about this person. No, no. Let's talk about the person. And as we're talking about the person, let's cross our legs. Let's work on that motion. Let's do something because by the time you succeed at that, you're like celebrating it. Small wins are great wins.
Mhm.
And I want to encourage everyone who moves to find something to make it impactful and to make it a greater win.
Mhm.
And that person that you have on your heart doesn't leave,
Mhm.
but I am totally okay with them joining the workout.
I just love what you say so much. Every little win, every little success feeds the next one, right?
Yes.
When we feel like, oh, wow, I've accomplished something, then I'm more motivated to give it another try and maybe move a little bit more
Yeah.
beyond where I was. So, yeah, success by increments.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mission is to empower others through fitness,
Mhm.
through your skill set. And so when you're not feeling your best or not feeling that strength, we can find the things, the little things that will spark that and empower you
Mhm.
in grief and in transition.
Yeah.
And that's the important part of grieving is to not give up, okay? And
Yeah.
not say, I can't um, because clearly I believe in your ability to.
Mhm.
So if you say certain things, I want to encourage people to be empowered and look at it from a different perspective. Oftentimes we're so close to the situation that we forget our inner strength and translate that inner strength into physical strength. Those again, setting these little goals. You never thought that your lifestyle is to be around the fitness um, um, tenants and friends. And then you're also very busy as an entrepreneur. You're very busy, doing these wonderful shows and putting them together and connecting people and doing those things. So, though you may not get out and work out all the time, but you set a goal and you set that way to tap in so that when you're speaking to somebody who's grieving, you have your own life experiences. You're
Totally.
not there working out every day, but you can talk to them and say, hey, you know what?
Mhm.
This conversation is opening up my lungs. It's
Mhm.
allowing me to take the deep breaths. And now that I've done that, I have to get up in the next hour to move my legs, to move my limbs. Have you tried that? Have you changed that since, I know you've been in bed. I know you don't feel like it, but hey, why don't we take some 3 deep breaths? And that gives you the ability, even if I'm not training the person, but that gives you knowledge to impart to somebody else. So now you're helping somebody else.
Mhm.
And it just, like you said, small wins, they start adding together. And that's a win for that person to take a deep breath because it lifts that heaviness off
Mhm.
for just a moment. And then that's a win. And then we add another day where we're taking 2 breaths. We multiply that, 10 breaths. We multiply that. And again, lifting. We're doing the heavy lifting.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be in a gym. It doesn't have to be with push-ups and squats and sprints and all those things. It could be the emotional lifting that we're
Yeah.
doing.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were speaking. It is physical, yes, and there's certainly long-term physical health benefits if we can keep, the practice going. But the emotional benefits, especially in the grieving process, are so, so critical.
Yes.
Sabina, I want to put your website on my website, and on your website, everyone has a way of reaching you. There, you've got a little contact me section, so that's wonderful. Our time is pretty much concluded. Is there anything you wanted to say just before we stop recording?
Yes. Thank you again.
Yeah.
This has been a wonderful conversation. And I encourage you and I encourage your audience to again get moving, stand up, take a deep breath, stretch your arms out, bring your arms across your body, and just wrap it around and do this exercise at least once a day.
You know what
Again,
I love about this is so often we don't get enough of this, do we? And if we
yeah,
can do it for ourselves, our body has memory cells that remember, oh, yeah, I remember what hugs were all about.
yes,
Lovely. Thank you so much.
thank you. And I hope to see you guys again.
Appreciate your spending time with us, Sabina. Have a lovely day.
You too.
Bye.